Hi, everyone. Welcome into Wager Talk's Last Call. I'm Meghan Payton. If you're new here, the format is fun. It's questions where you get to ask them. I'm merely just a talking head. This is the show designed to get you involved. Head over to the YouTube live comments right now. Get your questions in. We've got a great panel joining us today. Ski Prophet Rob Veno, Carmine Bianco, here to talk NBA, college hoops, hockey, and even some soccer action. All of this coming up. Get your questions in. If you have any bets that you're leaning on, feel free to throw those in the live chat as well. We'll get our thoughts and our panel's thoughts on what you're riding with tonight. Let's bring in our very first guest of the show, Rob Veno, who has nearly 30 years of handicapping experience. He's going to break down college basketball, NBA, whatever you got for him as far as hoops. Feel free to ask him. Rob Veno, how are you doing today? You have a 61.8% college basketball season to date, and I know you've got a March Madness special up at Wager Talk.
Yeah, there is a March Madness special up at Megan at Wager Talk. Megan, glad to be here. I should have said that first off, but yeah, you can get the remainder of the college basketball season right through the NCAA title game at a reduced rate right now. Go over to WagerTalk.com. Go over to my homepage. The college basketball season has been great for me, including this afternoon. We got off to a 1-0 start in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament with a first half total play that hit. So right now, seeing it really, really clear. It's a good time of year to be doing that. And hopefully the next 3 weeks to a month produce at the rate that the full season has produced at. And tonight we're going to talk a little college hoops, Megan.
Let's get right into one game I know that you're eyeing. Purdue at Wisconsin. Purdue's fifth in the rankings right now. Tip off 9 p.m. Eastern. Purdue -4. Total at 127.5. A win for Purdue means they clinch an outright Big Ten regular season title. Wisconsin took a big blow yesterday with an overtime loss to Michigan, kind of blowing their tournament hopes. Rob, is Purdue going to bounce back tonight?
Well, yeah, Purdue, they both would be looking to bounce back, right? Wisconsin, as you mentioned, they lose to Michigan, 3-pointer by Hunter Dickinson, kind of hurt them the other day. And where the Purdue side is concerned, it was a sweep to in-state rival Indiana in a game where they lose 79-71. But boy, oh boy, you listen to Matt Painter after the game and talk about the shots that Purdue got. And it's kind of like what Iowa went through for a couple of games where they got really good looks and just missed a bunch of shots. Purdue shot 35% from the field in that game, only 22 from three. I'd expect a bounce back effort from the Boilermakers tonight. When I looked at this game, Megan, it's funny. There's so many handicapping angles that you can use. But if I just start with what are the reasons to bet on Wisconsin and I go through it, and basically you can come up with, maybe one they have to win. I mean, they're on the NCAA tournament bubble. They're trying to win, but you could counter that argument by saying Purdue has to win as well. You just mentioned they could clinch an outright, and Purdue is trying to be a number one seed in the NCAA tourney. You could probably say Big Ten home courts, home floors have been covering numbers this year, but Wisconsin's isn't one of them. They've been lousy at home. So that kind of offsets the fact that Purdue's been a lousy spread team inside the Big Ten. After that, I don't know what kind of case you make for Wisconsin, because let's just start with the fact that their star point guard, Chucky Hepburn, we still don't know his status for this game. He hurt his knee last game. I think I read he went through practice or attempted to go through practice, and Wisconsin won't release any information onto whether he plays or not tonight. If he does, he's obviously hindered by the knee injury. If he does not, Wisconsin doesn't have a legitimate ball handler behind him, which would be a big problem for them in this game. If I go through the fundamental matchups in this game, there's no reason to like Wisconsin. I mean, certain teams are set up for failure against others because they just don't match up. And we haven't seen this particular meeting so far this year. These two teams haven't met. But here's what we have to look forward to tonight. Wisconsin, as far as 2-point field goal percentage is concerned, they rank number 332 in the nation. Horrendous, getting inside the arc and scoring points. Purdue's a great interior defense, obviously, with the help of Zach Edey at 7'5". It's going to be tough for Wisconsin to score at the rim or even inside the paint. They're going to have to rely on 3-point shooting. Hepburn's their best 3-point shooter. They've got a couple other guys that can shoot it, but Purdue's a great 3-point perimeter defensive team. So to ask for points out of Wisconsin, a team that can't score to begin with, they're one of the worst effective field goal percentage teams in the nation. If you add on to the fact that they're the second worst free throw shooting team in the Big Ten, you have to wonder about how they'll score here. The rebounding edge, all Purdue. Wisconsin's an extremely poor offensive rebounding team. I think they're second worst in the Big Ten. Purdue cleans the glass, so I can't see second chance points for Wisconsin. The other side, you can see plenty for Purdue because they do hit the offensive glass. So when you go through these individual matchups back and forth, Wisconsin's just a Purdue's a bad matchup for them, extremely bad. I think Purdue, after watching Matt Painter, and I'm not a guy to come on and defend Matt Painter ever. The guy does find a way with really good teams to lose games. But in this case tonight, they seem frustrated off that loss to Indiana the other day. As I mentioned, their shooting percentages were poor. I think they picked back up here against Wisconsin, who really you can credit their ability to hold teams scoring down just by the pace that they play. They want to go slow, but I think they'll be pressured tonight, especially if Hepburn isn't in the lineup to handle the ball. 4 points to me seemed really low. And I'll say this, if in fact by tip off time, Chucky Hepburn is announced out of this game, this is not going to be 4 anymore. It's going to be 6. So you probably want to get in early here. I think whether he plays or not, Purdue's the right side. So give me Purdue -4.
I agree, Rob. Even though Purdue has lost 4 of their last 6, Wisconsin is not able to score their ball. They might have an elite defense. I don't think it goes well against Purdue. Let's head over to the YouTube live chat. Rob has a question for you, Rob. Rob, where do you see
Hmm.
Michigan right now, in and or out of the big dance? Huge game for them tonight. Michigan plays Illinois. Tip off at 7 p.m. Eastern. Illinois, a 4.5 point favorite.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen to a lot of teams that are in the same shoes that Michigan is in right now, which is, kind of bubblish where the tournament is concerned. Conference tournaments, not only their own games, but games across the country are going to really dictate who makes it and who doesn't. So for Michigan, the best advice is to continue winning. As mentioned here in the chat, it's a big game for them tonight. They've been playing without Jed Howard. Maybe they get Jed Howard back in this one tonight, which would be a help. But they've got to win a couple of ball games probably in the Big Ten tournament and hope for other teams across the country to lose. Again, it's going to be a domino effect, Megan. So it's really hard here on March the 2nd, not even out of the regular season yet, where power conference teams are concerned, to see whether they're going to make it or not. It's going to be one of those teams that sits back and roots for all of the little conference favorites to win their tournament. You don't want any upsets to take away at large spots if you're a team like Michigan. It's a common phrase, but you have to do or take care of your own business. And right now, that's the spot Michigan's in.
Absolutely, Rob. Uh, Before we let you go, anything catching your eye on the NBA side for tonight? Only 4 games on the slate. Anything peeking out at you?
I think the Clippers later on tonight are probably a good side, Megan. It's been bet up pretty good off the opener. I think it started 2, it's up to 4. Jordan Poole is going to play for Golden State here. I think there was some concern earlier today about his status, but he'll go. The Clippers, to me, where depth is concerned, is the far superior team here. Golden State's been getting by without Steph Curry, mostly on the shooting back of Klay Thompson. 12 threes, 13 threes, however many threes he wants to make a night. He's been doing it. But LA comes in here off a loss. I think they'll look to straighten that out. They've played some fairly tough competition. In fact, I think down the stretch here, LA has one of the 3 toughest remaining schedules in the NBA. But as I mentioned, the depth looks really good for this team. And I took a look at their second quarter results when Golden State will go to the bench and the Clippers will go to theirs. The Clippers are a tremendous second quarter team this season. So maybe if you're looking to bet this game, you might look first half. Clippers. I looked full game. I got a better price than 4, but I still think there's some value at 4. Paul George and Kawhi are playing pretty well at this point. So I'll take the Clippers over Golden State tonight.
Rob Veno, we appreciate you joining us here at Wager Talks Last Call. Reminder, Veno is 61.8% season to date on college basketball. He's got a great special going on at wagertalk.com March Madness for $149. Make sure you guys go give him a follow on Twitter. Check him out on Wager Talk. Rob Veno, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
Next up, we're going to bring on Ski Profit to break down some more NBA action. Reminder, if you're tuning in right now, head over to the YouTube live chat. Make sure you ask any questions. This is the show meant for you all to get your questions in. Any thoughts on your bets that you're going to be riding with tonight? Our panel is here to break it down. Ski Profit here to talk NBA, Carmine, Bianco, NHL, and soccer later on in the show. Ski Profit, welcome into Last Call. Thank you for joining us here. You've been doing great stuff in the NBA, covering the NBA for a long time, betting on it the last 6 years. And I know you're going to be eyeing a Pacers Spur game. But before we break down that one, the last 5 days you've been plus 17.32%. What do you have going on at Wager Talk?
Yeah, NBA has been pretty kind to me post All-Star break, and we'll try to keep it going and talk about a few plays here on the show. I've made 8 plays so far today. I do have a top 4% play up and available at WagerTalk.com. But if you want to be involved, like I said, like Megan said, the last 5 days have all been profitable. I think the best way to do it, you can get the $39 1-day all access. You can do a 3-day or 7-day, and you'll get every play as soon as I release it. So that's what I have going, and looking forward to help you guys make some money on the slate tonight here with Megan.
Only 4 games on the NBA slate. One game you're looking at, the Indiana Pacers head to San Antonio to take on the Spurs. Tip off at 8:40 p.m. Eastern. Pacers 6.5-point favorites, total at 238. The Pacers are heating up. They've won 3 of their last 4, and the Spurs have been absolutely dreadful. They were on a 16-game losing streak until a magical win against the Jazz the other day. Skee, any chance this Spurs team gets a reboost here?
I would not put my money on it. I mean, we're talking about a team that has covered 2 games out of their last 16. And this is also a team that's been on the road all the way back to February 3rd. So first game at home after a long road trip, in my mind, that's a flat spot. I don't want my money on a team like this that's losing by 15 plus points per game in that span that I was talking about versus a Pacers team who's kind of been getting a rhythm here. So I know Halliburton is questionable. I don't love it if he's not playing because we've seen what they look like so far this season without him. I think they were 1-9 straight up, maybe even 2-8 against the spread. But this Spurs team is just so terrible. If they do adjust the line down when he's rolled out, I still would only look towards the Pacers in this game. Other than that, let me talk about a few props. Or go ahead. I'm sorry. You're going in.
Oh, yeah. No, Skate, I know you have a couple props that you're eyeing, but then from a total perspective, 238 is where we see it right now. Spurs team's been able to keep up with the pace. Still seems a bit high for me.
Yeah, I agree. We're looking at this Spurs team for one. They're going to be without their leading scorer, Keldon Johnson, tonight. He has an ankle injury, tweaked it last game. They will get Devin Vassell back in the lineup, but he hasn't played in like 2 months since January 2nd. So I'm expecting him to be rusty. And same kind of deal with Trey Jones. Like you would expect an offensive boost there, but he's another guy who hasn't played in 3 weeks. So I'm not quite sure how much you're going to get from those guys tonight. Along with the flat spot, I'll read this stat really quick. It's equally rested home dogs in a flat spot. And like I mentioned before, a flat spot is a team of 5 or more road games and coming back to the house. I have them as 31, 11, and 3, which is 73.8% going back to 2016. That says you play the under here, it's going to be a lower scoring game. We look at the Spurs, only 2 of their last 10 games have eclipsed this 238 number. On the flip side, for the Pacers, only 5 of their last 16 games have eclipsed this number. When the Pacers play lesser competition, and when I say that right now, I'm talking about teams less than 500, they are 20-11 to the under. So I just think it's a situation where the Spurs are going to continue to struggle to score. They're going to drive the under mostly here in this game, and it's just not going to be enough to get 238. A lot has to go right to get up and over a number like that.
And then talk a little bit about the props that you've got going on tonight for this one. We'll head over to the YouTube live chat after your answer for this.
Absolutely. So if you want to expect, I know it's not always, entertaining to sit there and watch and bet on under games, but if you want to expect points from anything, I'll look at a couple props here. We'll go Buddy Hield over his 3.5 3-pointers made. He's hit this 11 of his last 16 games for his bottom 10 3-point defenses. He averages 4.3 3-point makes, and on the road, it increases to 4.7. So just asking them to get over that 3.5, I think is a good bet versus Spurs team who is dead last. They're the worst team defending the three in the league. So I like that. And also we have to look at Miles Turner. I mean, he's hit his 1.5 3-point makes 10 of the last 15 games. And I also mentioned Halliburton could be out. I noticed when he was out, he was chucking them a little bit more. I know he cashed the 2+ 3-pointers made in 6 of the 8 games without Halliburton out there. So two guys that I think can at least, get their 3-point prop. If you put them together, that's only 18 points here. I know it's not correlated as far as betting for overs and 3-pointers and betting under on the game, but as much of they've hit these 3-point targets the last 16 games, Pacers have still been an under team. They're under 9 of the last 16. And I mentioned how many times they've struggled to hit this 238 number. They've only reached it 5 of the last 16. So if you want to bet for points, you go Miles Turner and Buddy Hield over their 3-point prop.
Skee, we've got some questions coming in for you from the YouTube live chat. Ghosted wants to know what's good with the Suns. Any hope on them going deep in the playoffs, or is CP3 going to keep being cursed? Now they've got KD joining them, and he looked better than ever for the first time as a part of the Phoenix Suns.
I think KD will look good anywhere he goes. He's just an elite scorer. It's not really anybody who's going to hold him in the league. But what I'll say to this, are the Suns capable of making a deep playoff run and going to the NBA Finals? Absolutely. I mean, they have a lot of talent on that roster. But the thing that I think will hold them up, I mean, you can mention the CP3 being cursed if you want. I think it's more so, can this team stay healthy? I mean, it's a lot of guys put together on this roster who are injury prone. I hate to say it like that, but every year, Chris Paul, the longer the playoffs goes on, he starts to break down and starts to miss games. We've seen, I mean, Devin Booker just came back from injury. He's been in and out of the lineup for the past few years. Same can be said for KD. So can you trust all of these guys to be there at the end of the year when you're making these future bets and you're betting on the favorite? That's something that you have to consider. And I don't think I would put my money there.
Skee Profit, the NBA handicapping expert. We appreciate you coming on here at WagerTalk's Last Call. Reminder, you can find Skee at WagerTalk.com. He's been very profitable the last 5 days, plus 17.32%. Thank you, Skee. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thanks for having me.
We move on to NHL and soccer. Carmine here to break it down. Reminder to all, any hockey, soccer questions, head over to the YouTube live chat. I saw someone in there asking if this was a new show. Yes, this is a brand new show that we're doing here at Wager Talk that is centered around everyone in the chat. I told you, I'm just here to pass along the information. You guys ask the questions. Let's bring in the NHL soccer handicapping expert, Carmine Bianco. Thank you for joining us here at Wager Talk's Last Call. You are 222 at 155 in the NHL since November 1st, and you've got a promo code going on for the rest of the NHL season. Explain to us what you have up at wagertalk.com.
Yeah, it's been, and thanks for having me on, Megan. I love doing this show. It's been a really good NHL season thus far, and that code, there's still plenty of hockey left. Of course, probably another 20 plus games for all NHL teams, and then we've obviously got the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs as well too. So you can get the rest of the NHL season $100 off of the of that package price with the code PT 100. I think they're keeping that valid until Friday at midnight, with tomorrow being our last Puck Time show of the week.
Carmine, we already have questions coming in the YouTube live chat, but I lied. I do have to ask you one before we get into our audience. You're looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs at Calgary Flames tonight. We've got right now Calgary minus 125 on the money line. The total's at 6.5. What's sticking out to you in this one?
Yeah, well, the Leafs are coming off a game last night, and they put forth pretty much no effort at all. They didn't look good offensively. And it's not very normal for an Edmonton defense to play as well as they did. But the Leafs didn't play well, and they're right back at it in the second half of the Alberta double. Calgary struggled of late, and they struggle in the third periods of their games. They blew one in Vegas just, I think, a couple games back where they had one shot on goal with the lead in the third period, gave up a couple in that game and end up losing it. And then same thing happens with the Bruins game. But the game against the Bruins was a bit of a different beast. The Flames played extremely well, outshot outshot the Bruins, I think, by a 45-18 margin, if I remember correctly. It was just the Bruins goalie stealing that game. It's a little different tonight. Toronto will go to their backup goalie, and it really their emergency goalie with one of their goalies currently injured. But they're going with Joseph Wall tonight. He's confirmed. Markstrom for the Flames, and the difference for the Flames this year as to last year, and why they're on the outside looking in 5 points out of a playoff spot, is Markstrom was exceptional last season for the Flames. He hasn't been this year, and he hasn't been able to steal them games when they really need him. This originally opened at the Leafs -115, Calgary -105. The market, it's probably the biggest market mover throughout the day. Calgary's now -125. The Leafs are +105. But I'm looking at the total here because I think the Leafs will bounce back from that game. I just don't know what we're going to get from them. I think they're going to be much better offensively. Whether they win the game or not remains to be seen, which is why I'm looking at the total here with Joseph Wall in goal. He's only played 6 games in his 2 seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's 4-2, but been pretty much protected against teams that don't have a lot of offensive output. He played against the Sabres last season. Sabres are a high-scoring team this year. They weren't last year. Columbus, the Montreal Canadiens, the Islanders, the Sharks, the Jets. None of those teams have the firepower that the Calgary Flames have. So I think we're going to see some goals there. And I think Toronto's offense will show up tonight. So the total's sitting at 6.5. I was out with some friends watching the Edmonton game last night. They're Leaf fans, but they kept cheering on every Edmonton goal because they bet the over. And I have a feeling they're going to do the same thing tonight. So over 6.5 is one of the plays I like here. And I'm going to throw Megan, I'm going to throw a prop bet out there. Austin Matthews, his shots on goal, I think he only had one last night in another, like I said, another bad offensive performance. But his shots on goal is shot on goal prop is set at 3.5 -120, and I think he's going to go over that total. He's one who needs to pick it up, and they're trying to get him to fire more pucks at the net to score more goals. This time last year, after 61 games, albeit he through 61 games, he had 50 goals. He only has 28 goals this season. He's off the pace by 22 through 61 games, but he's played in 54 of those as he was injured. But he's off pace. He's averaging 4.1 shots on goal per game, whereas last year 4.76, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but that almost a full shot more makes a huge difference for a guy like him. So I'm looking for him to have a big one tonight, and we'll see some goals, I think.
Yeah, they would hope so. Maple Leafs with a really bad loss to the Oilers yesterday. Third game of a 5-game road trip. Carmine looking at Austin Matthews over 3.5 shots on goal. Let's head over to the YouTube chat. Jeff Green with a question for you, Carmine. Do you like the Kings and Panthers money line as a parlay?
I do. I think it's I do like it. Montreal, I think, is a fade team from this point forward. They've won some games, and I'm not really sure what they're doing. They've got some guys out of the lineup. They really need to be tanking at this point. I think you want to finish. They're not going to make the playoffs, so the thing becomes now, and it's tough to just tank. But with guys out of the lineup, you want to lose games or at least finish near the bottom of the standings, so you have the best shot possible at getting the number 1 pick in this year's draft, which is Connor Bedard. He is he's going to be one of those generational talents. I firmly believe. So that's one that I do like. The other part of it was, I'm sorry, what was the other part of that parlay? I completely missed it. My apologies.
Oh, no, you're fine. So
Let me
he
see if I can.
said, I'm pulling it right back up right now. I believe it was Kings and it was Panthers, right? Kings
The
and Panthers
Panthers.
parlay.
And yeah, it's the same story with the Panthers. The Panthers, a fantastic game last time out against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was one I talked about on Puck Time that I said they were going to go out there, and I thought they could play a very good defensive game, and they were plus 140 in that game, and I thought they could win, and they did. And now they play a Nashville team that are selling off pieces as well. I think Nashville's come to terms with the fact that they're likely not going to make the playoffs. So they are a seller prior to this Friday's trade deadline. So this is an important 2 points for the Panthers, and I think they get the win tonight. So I would say that's a good parlay.
Brandon wants to look at some more shots on goal props. Tyler Toffoli or Backlund over on their shots on goal. I'll pull up the number right now, but your general thoughts on these two players.
Yeah, I think the number's 2.5. It's been 2.5 for a while for Toffoli and Andrew McKinnis, who I think will be on Saturday's show. He talked about it today on Puck Time that Toffoli has been an absolute moneymaker. I think he has gone over his total in 19 of his last 20 games. He's gone over that 2.5 goal shot prop, and they haven't moved it. Sometimes when these guys get hot, you will start to see some 3.5s pop up with them, but he's still 2.5, and they sort of adjust the vig on it.
Yeah.
But I do like the Toffoli one to go over the total. I expect some shots on goal in this Calgary Toronto game. These are two teams that played once before earlier this season in Toronto. That game finishes 5-4 for Toronto in overtime. It was a very chippy game, a game that had where is it? I think 11 power plays in that game, 4 of them resulting in goals. Austin Matthews, who I mentioned earlier, had 8 shots on goal in that game. So with two teams needing a win tonight, we could see either one being physical and trying to light a spark under their teams. And maybe we see some penalties, a lot of shots on goal, and some goals to go with it.
Yeah, both 2.5. You were right about that, Carm. Let's switch over to soccer. I've got a couple different questions in the YouTube live chat. Instead of going through all the different ones, can you give your general thoughts on what we're seeing right now in the European leagues and how you approach betting on it and anything that you're looking at?
Yeah, for the first for the first month or so, it was coming out of the World Cup and coming out of the winter breaks for some of these teams. It was more of a cautious approach to it. I've amped it up a lot more, and it's starting to show with a lot of wins, which I'm very happy about. 16-5-1 last 7 days in soccer, and 43-31-3 for almost 59% the last 30 days. That actually got a little bit better today with a couple of winners, 2-0 sweep today. But we're gearing into the second half of every domestic league season in Europe, and there's going to be some very good spots moving forward. I always caution people to keep an eye on weekend games where there are teams that are playing in the Champions League who might be playing on Tuesday and Wednesday, much like will happen next week. And you might, because they're in the knockout stages, which is essentially a bracket style tournament like the March Madness, you want to try and maybe avoid teams that are going to be playing on Tuesday and Wednesday because those games are much more important to them. So they tend to kind of like that load management, rest some players on the weekend. And the last thing you want to do is bet on a team and then find out that the players are missing um, or sitting out on any given weekend game. But it's been good thus far. One person I see asks, better chance for a draw, the Torino Bologna game or Juve Roma? I would think the first one, the Torino Bologna game. These are Italy's Serie A. I talked about the Juventus Roma game on stoppage time this morning, where I gave out Barcelona in today's El Clasico, Copa del Rey, and they won at plus 286, beating Real Madrid 1-0. And I talked about Juventus. They are almost plus 200 dog in this one. And this team is finally healthy, playing some exceptional football. And I think they have a chance to not only at worst draw, but I think they actually get all the money here and the 3 points and win that game. So you can get a very good price on Juventus on Sunday.
Carmine Bianco, our soccer and NHL expert. We really appreciate you joining us here at Last Call, answering all of the YouTube live chats. For all those listening right now, head over to wagertalk.com. Go check out Carmine's NHL promo he has right now. $100 off if you use code PT100. Thank you very much, Carmine. Enjoy your Thursday.
Thanks for having me.
That'll wrap up today's episode of Last Call here at Wager Talk TV. Reminders, we're here every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific and Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you tell your friends, join the YouTube live chat, get your questions in. We've got a great panel every week joining us. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on Saturday.